Oh, okay, I can do that for you. Is this the one?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You want to use your screens?
Sure.
Is that cool, or did you want?
No, you can leave it up there. That's fine.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
All right. Awesome. That way we can go through this. So, business planning, goal setting, and the numbers. And like I said, this is not the most riveting of information that we cover, but there are a lot of really, really good things in here that are going to set you up, whether you're a brand new agent or, you know, an agent who's just kind of trying to restart, get back on their feet, whatever that looks like. There really is some good information in here. So I love this kind of thing. Okay, so the purpose and objectives that we're going to cover today. We're going to learn the purpose and the basic steps of creating a business plan. So who has a business plan already for your business? Okay. We're going to discuss, that's weird, my numbering fell off. All these are number one. We're going to discuss why strategies and accountability actions are going to determine your level of success. We're going to set up a tracking financial worksheet to measure the goals, the progress of reaching or exceeding your financial goals. We're going to review the scenarios for determining an agent's profitability, and we're going to review the 8 fundamentals of a top producing real estate agent. Sound exciting? Woo. All right, so how do you create a business plan? Any ideas?
You mean like what you project that you want to sell?
Like your business plan for your business. Set goals. Yep, that's a good place to start.
Figure out how much I want to make.
Yep, so set your projections. So let me start with something, and it's going to sound a little bit like a stupid question, but who realizes that we actually run our own business? Okay, there are a lot of real estate agents in this industry who don't realize that they run their own business. They just think I sell real estate and that's all I do. When you think about your career as a business and you really start thinking about it, like if I was the CEO of Apple, what would I be doing every day? Well, this is your Apple. This is your company that you're invested in that you're going to work on every day. So a business plan is essentially a comprehensive plan for meeting your goals. As your business grows, it lets you know where you stand in relation to your goals. This is kind of a very simplified version of what we're looking to do, but I think it sets kind of some good groundwork. So a strong real estate business plan should answer these simple questions. How much should you budget for marketing to grow your business, and how many sales do you have to make to cover your expenses? So start very simple. What does it take to run your house every month? What does it take to run your business every month? There's a spreadsheet that we have that we're going to kind of go through at the end that'll work through. So how many of you have a budget for your home? Like a monthly budget that you use? Okay. My wife has one. She handles all of it. I love it. I deal with all of the business stuff every day, so I'm just like, here's our budget. So a strong, good job, Ilana. A strong real estate budget and figuring out how many sales you're going to need to do it. So talking specifically about business goals. A business goal is a need or a desire of the business, or a business goal is a need or a desire of the business to be accomplished or achieved. So the value of establishing your business goals is for setting the foundation, which becomes the purpose and the value for why your business exists. So that's what I call your big why. Why am I doing what I'm doing every day? Why am I getting out of bed? Why am I, what am I trying to accomplish today? And you'll need to determine the strategies and actions that must be carried out to achieve those business goals. So how much income do I want to earn in my business? This is kind of the cornerstone of everything. So do you guys have an idea of your budget for what you want to make?
I set a goal.
Okay, what's your goal?
Well, I was hoping, well, it's probably not, to make $40,000.
By the end of the year? Perfect. What about you? Who else wants to share? And you don't have to.
I said 100,000, but from August to August.
Okay, so by August of 19?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of, that was my
I give myself
bigger goal.
a couple months to learn and.
Sure. Absolutely. So, and that's the good thing with setting goals is it doesn't have to be a calendar year. It doesn't have to be, it can be whatever you need it to be. So August to August is great. And there you go. So we're kind of in a similar situation. My wife makes 60 grand a year and our health insurance is 100% paid by her employer. That's another $1,200-1,400 a month for our family. So we're in a situation where we're trying to get her out of her job so she can focus on our nonprofit and I can replace it with our real estate income. So that's kind of the cornerstone of what everything's going to be with your business. So in your business goal, where or what is your passion for providing real estate services other than my income goal? So some people fixate just on the money side of it, but money is not going to be the reason you get out of bed. You have to have passion. And actually, my best friend, who's also a real estate broker, and I are getting ready to do an audio podcast, and it's called Passion or Paycheck. And it talks about this specifically. If you are an agent that just works for a paycheck, you're probably in the wrong business. If you're not passionate about real estate, if you're not passionate about sales, whatever it is, this is not going to be where you want to be very long. What I always say is real estate is the easiest job in the world to make minimum wage and one of the toughest jobs in the world to make a doctor's wage. And you can do anything in the middle based on how much effort and how much passion you have on what you're doing. So this is your why. What do you love to do? Scott and I were talking about this on Monday in the class he was doing. I love helping people. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love mentoring. This is what I love to do. If I could make a living doing this and I never had to sell another house again, I'd be totally content. This is my passion. Helping you guys be successful, helping you grow, helping you to help meet your big why. That's why I get out of bed in the morning. I don't get out of bed to sell real estate. Selling real estate is the what. That is the means by which I accomplish my passion. So in terms of finding out your business, find out your why. What is the thing that gets you out of bed? What are you passionate about? So with that, you've got the money and the passion. This is kind of the two sides to this. So for step one in my business goals, and I think we have this sheet. So on the papers that are in front of you, this is kind of what we're working through. So step one is my personal goal. Step two is strategies to achieve my goals. And then step three will be accountability. So within step one, we're going to talk about my business goals, which this one's slightly different, but that's okay. So what are your business goals? If we're looking at between now and the end of the year, or, we could even say from now until the end of 2019, kind of give yourself 14, 15 months. That's okay too. There's no hard and fast rule that says my goals are 12 months. Your goals could be 14 months, could be 6 months, could be whatever you want. So what are your goals? Is it transactional based? Is it income based, GCI, gross commission income? What does that look like for you? A lot of this for me, so when I look at my business specifically, my goal between now and the end of the year is I want to close another 1.5 million in business, which is going to be another 45 grand. And I want to close at least one more VA loan. I want to help one more veteran. That's kind of my passion. I love working with veterans. I come from a very strong military family. My dad retired Navy. My brother was in the Army. My other brother was a captain in the Coast Guard. That's the group that I love. And I feel like VA gets underserviced a lot. So I kind of put some of my marketing and my passion into that. So that's part of my goal, is working with people that I want to work with. I want to work with veterans. So that's part of my goal. And then, something like transactional. Well, if I want to close 1.5 million, my typical sales point this year has been about 150,000. So that's 10 more transactions between now and the end of the year. That's pretty ambitious, especially once you get to Thanksgiving and everything starts slowing down. But, if you don't set lofty and ambitious goals, you have nothing to work for. So business strategies. A business strategy is your main objective or passion for which an action plan is created to achieve your business goals. So a strategy, this is how you get from where I am to where I want to be. This is your roadmap. So 8 common lead generation strategies: sphere of influence, networking, purchasing leads, farming, assisting another agent, advertising, for sale by owner, expires. Out of this, how many are you guys working currently? Out of the 8 common lead generation strategies, how many of them are you working currently? Just expired?
4 or 5.
Okay, nice. So which ones are you not using?
Lead generation.
Okay, so purchasing leads, okay.
Assisting an agent and then farming. I'm not really farming.
Okay, and that's fine. You don't have to do all 8 of these. This is not a, if you don't do all 8, you're gonna fail. But knowing what the 8 are will help you kind of hone in on where do I want to spend my time, where do I want to spend my energy, and how am I best going to accomplish my goals. So sphere of influence, these are people that know you, like you, and trust you. If you saw them in a grocery store, you're gonna be like, hey, how are you? How are the kids? These are people you know. What I typically have done with my sphere is I categorize it as A, B, and C. A are my people that I know their name, I know their husband's name, I know their kids' names. Those are my A's. My B's are, if I saw you in the grocery store, I know who you were, I probably remember your first name, or at least like where I know you from. And my C's are friends of friends. I met you at a party once, you kind of look familiar, if we talked for a couple of minutes, I could probably figure out who you were. So that's my A, B, and C of my spheres. My A's are the ones that I'm gonna go after. I could send them a text today and be like, hey, haven't talked to you in a while, just thinking about you, and they wouldn't think anything weird. Your B's might be like, oh, it's good to hear from you. I hadn't really thought about you lately. Hey, well, I need to start being front of mind with you. I need to start working on those. Your C's are the people that you're just like, if I can get an opportunity to turn you into a B, then that's where I'm going to work. I'm gonna kind of try and maybe run into you at another party or get to know you a little bit better. Networking, how many of you guys network regularly?
Are you talking about like formal networking or just, I network just being out in public? Just talking to people and.
Like that, but groups, no, I did. I met, this, insurance, he owns an insurance business, he's on the, commerce or something.
Okay.
And, so he invited me to all these groups and said I can go with him, like I said,
Sure.
and time to make it around to you.
I will tell you, if you are in a situation where you don't have a ton of money to spend, networking is the fastest and most effective way to get in. I have a Friday morning networking group that I'm actually with for our nonprofit because the real estate seat was full. But everybody in that group knows that I'm a realtor, because you can't talk to me for 10 minutes and not know that I'm a realtor. And with that, it's $200 a year or something. So it's pretty inconsequential, but it gets me in front of 40 people a week. And it's an investment of 2 hours on a Friday morning. Like, that's where I'm gonna spend my time, but it gets me in front of people. So it's a pretty inconsequential expense to be able to get that repeated exposure and to stay front of mind.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
That come up is, I would imagine, the pitch groups that are going on that networking.
Mhm.
So I've gotten advertisements for that, but I'm not really sure what that is. What is a pitch group? So
the pitch groups mean different things to different people. Typically the pitch groups that I've gone to, it's a group within a set industry. So it's going to be your plumbers, your electricians, your roofers, your handymen, your realtors, your lenders, your title people, and your insurance people. They all kind of get together and it's a, hey, what do you have going on? It's an opportunity to kind of network within the industry. That's more the value of that. So it's like, hey, I've got a new listing coming in next week. If you guys know of anything, within your group, that's kind of the value of those. It's not a good lead generation source because everybody in there already has an affiliate they're funneling things to. But for these other companies, they want to become your electrician, your plumber, your roofer. So as a realtor, it's great for you to get to know these people, but it's not going to be a good lead generation source. Purchasing leads for me would be number 8. You're going to spend a lot of money, and there's not a great rate of return on it. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Zillow, the best agents out there are turning 3 to 4%. If I'm spending $1,000 a month with Zillow, which is what I was spending, that's a lot of work for 4%. There's a lot of things I can be doing that's going to have a better rate of return. Farming, this is something I wouldn't necessarily focus on right out of the gate, but it is something as you're starting to cultivate your business that you may want to start thinking about. Find a neighborhood. I typically say no more than 400 to 500 homes. A farm any bigger than 400 to 500 just becomes unmanageable. You can't really dedicate the time that you need to it. So find a neighborhood or a section of a neighborhood. Evaluate the price point. Some people are like, oh, I want this neighborhood because it's all $1 million homes. Well, how often do those $1 million homes change hands? You know, they don't turn over but once every 5 years and there's 50 homes in there. Statistically, you're going to spend 5 years trying to get that one listing. You know, so you want to find a neighborhood that has good turnover and that is not owned by one realtor. So I live in Trinity. The Christian Bennett pretty much runs Champions Club. I've tried desperately to beat the crap out of Christian on some of the listings, and I've done it on a few, but he has just marketed that neighborhood for so long that he just is the name that everybody knows. So look at your neighborhood, pull up the listings in the farm that you're looking at, and see if one agent has been closing over and over and over again. If an agent has a pretty good stronghold on a neighborhood, it's going to be really hard to break into. Now, it's not impossible. If you sit on an HOA board or you have some other in there, certainly go for it.
What about your own subdivision? Would it be good to like farm land?
Look and see what it is. I live in Foxwood and Trinity, and I know that there are 9 realtors that live in my neighborhood. I get a mailer almost every day of the week from one of them. If I'm getting them, everybody else in the neighborhood is getting them. So if I become one more flyer that shows up in their mailbox, it's not an effective marketing farm for me. So these are the kinds of things that before you go really spending a ton of time and a ton of energy, do a little bit of homework. You know, if you see that in the last 6 months, there's no agent that's closed more than 2 or 3 deals, go for it. Become the agent that's closing 25% of what the neighborhood has. If you can get 25% market share in a neighborhood, you're gold. 500 houses, 25%, 125 homes. If I can do that every 2 or 3 years, 40, 50 deals a year, absolutely. That's a no-brainer. Assisting other agents, this is great, especially when you're new. Taking on a mentor, having somebody kind of working through that with you. Advertising comes into purchasing leads, for sale by owners and expireds, certainly, work them. So for my business strategies, now we're kind of talking a little bit about step 2. Yeah.
I find that getting a mentor is very difficult.
It is.
Because it's just like, my business, me. So no one has any time to work with someone.
So I'll tell you, I have mentored 3 agents in the years that I've been in the business. And my mentor agreement is very specific. It says that we're going to go 50-50 on the first 4 deals. Because I'm going to invest a lot of time, a lot of energy, I'm going to sit down with you and work through it. So that is my return. Some new agents go, I can't afford to give you 50% on the first 4 deals, and that's okay. But what happens is, for the mentor, it is a huge time suck at the beginning. So there has to be something on the other side of it. Well, by deal 2, in all honesty, you're probably not going to need me anymore. If I've done what I'm supposed to do as a mentor, by deal 2, you're probably not going to need me, or not need me as much. But you have to understand that I've spent hours and hours and hours on the front end with no return to be able to get you to where you need to be. So mentoring relationships are very difficult. You've got to find the agent that has the patience, that's willing to stop what they're doing to be able to coach up a new agent. And I love it. I'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you. But you're right. There aren't a lot of agents out there that will really do the mentoring thing because it's tough. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of time, a lot of investment, a lot of energy, and it's got to be mutually beneficial for both people. The flip side to that too is you've got to have a new agent that's willing to actually go out and get to work. You know, because if I spend 6 months working with you and you don't close a deal, okay, well now I've spent a huge amount of time that I could be out closing deals and there's no return on it. So it's kind of a dance a little bit on finding it, but there are some agents out there, and I know Scott and I have talked about it. There's a few even within the company that do a good job with the mentoring.
Somebody, I talked to people signed up for the rope thing, and they sent me a name of a coach,
Real estate coaches are another thing that are really good. It's an investment into your business, an investment into yourself. You know, it ranges from $100 a month to $1,000 a month. If you can swing it, there's huge value in real estate coaches. So strategies to achieve our goals. So this is kind of the steps on your roadmap. Your sphere of influence. So this is your circle. Sell luxury home niche and FSBO and expired. So for this particular agent, this is what they want to focus on. I'm not saying this is the right formula for you. You know, it kind of comes into what you're doing. Some agents, if they have, and we were talking about this in the first hour, if you've got kids that play sports, or if you've got church groups, or if you've got, you know, whatever it is, your most effective means of getting going in the business may be to utilize the people you know. There's a couple of different ways that you can go about leveraging some of those relationships so that it becomes, oh, you are the real estate agent I call. Because today, if I were to walk out and grab a random stranger walking their dog, they probably know 5 real estate agents. So why am I going to be the agent they call as opposed to, oh, my neighbor, my, you know, whatever that does real estate part-time or whatever the case. You have to kind of show your value proposition, but work your sphere of influence. Keller Williams has figured this model out. The new agent coming out of real estate school is good for 4.7 deals in their first 2 years. Keller Williams makes a killing on getting their first 4.7 and then off they go. That's their whole model. And I have a friend that's been at Keller Williams for a long time. But that's their model. They know that new agents out of school are good for 4.7 deals. You're not going to learn how to write contracts. You're not going to learn how to manage deals. But they're going to get those 4.7 deals out of you at 35% or 40% or whatever you pay. Yeah. So work your sphere of influence. There are deals out there. You've just got to be able to let people know not only that you're in the business, because again, everybody's in the business, but that you are a real estate professional that knows how to work this business. Whether you do or don't, there are enough skills here and enough people behind you that you know how to do this business. Luxury home niche. So this is kind of what we were talking about. Find your niche. Find the place that you can plug in and really dominate. If it's luxury homes, if it's first-time home buyers, if it's estates. One of my best referral sources is a funeral director. When people die and the kids don't want the house anymore, he's like, here's Greg's card, give him a call. He knows how to handle estates. He knows some of the nuances that come from having 6 kids in 6 states that all have to sign the contract. A giant pain in the butt, but it's a great referral source. You know, estate lawyers, estate planners, take them out to lunch once a month. Hey, let's go grab a burger. Now all of a sudden when somebody's like, hey, you know, mom has dementia, dad has Alzheimer's, whatever, you know, there's probably not a lot of time left. Well, let's start having that conversation. They're working on the estate. Let's talk about what's going to happen to the house when they're gone. Sounds morbid, but there's a lot of business out there. Think outside the box. You know, find out what it is that you want, who you want to work with. If you're thinking of your ideal client, and I think every person in real estate should do this, you should build a persona for who you want to work with. I'll just give you mine. We call her, I think it was like Sally Homemaker. And basically their household income is about $120,000 a year. The husband is a middle manager. They have 2.2 kids and 2 dogs, and they're community active, and they are conservation minded. So this client for me is where I target my marketing, because these are the people that statistically I'm going to know, I'm going to like, and I'm going to trust. They're going to be people that are pleasant to work with. You know, they're not the people that are buying $1 million homes, because I don't like some of those people. you know, their personalities, they're very difficult, they're hard to work with, you know, very demanding. For my personality style, that's not who I want to work with. But there's an agent out there that thrives in that environment. That's just not me. So when you think about, if I could pick my ideal client, if I could just draw them out of thin air, what would they look like? What would they be? And how can I market to get in front of Sally Homemaker? Those are the types of things that as you're building your business, you really want to kind of hone in on. So your strategy for success. What are the two factors that will determine the success of your strategies? Your skill level and your accountability. Of these two, which do you think is more important? Skills can be taught. Accountability is the very difficult part of this business. I've been in the business 5 years. My best friend and I, we were starting the podcast. We're actually going to sit down tomorrow and go through this because we both closed deals, we both stayed successful. We're both not hitting our goals. So he and I are going to sit down because he knows he can put his foot in my butt and be like, all right, did you make your calls today? Did you do this? And he and I can, you know, kind of be firm with one another to be the accountability partner that we need. Now, our spouses, we could never, even though they're both in real estate, we could never have them as our accountability partner because the personality is just, if I'm like, did you make your calls today? And she's like, shut up, go away. Yeah, that's never going to work. I call Mike and I'm like, dude, you make your calls? Why the hell not? What's wrong with you? Get your butt on the phone, hang up with me, and get it done. That's what we need to be able to have that. So creating accountability partners is the best time investment you can make. It's somebody who's going to hold you to, we're going to sit down and we're going to set our goals. And we're going to work backwards, and the spreadsheet we have kind of works into that. If I'm going to close between now and the end of the year, okay, that's what, 4 deals at $300,000? Cool. How many calls do you need to make? How many appointments do you need to take? How many people do you need to meet a week to meet that goal? Are you doing it every day? Or are you sitting at home playing Angry Birds and, you know, scrolling on Facebook? You only have so many hours in a day. You need that accountability partner that's going to keep you accountable for what you're needing to do. And it doesn't stop. This is the one, that was kind of where I was going with this, is even 5 years in the business, I still need an accountability partner because it almost gets easier. When, you know, people call and say, hey, come list my house, I go list it, take photos, get it signed, I'm out in an hour. I'm not doing listing presentations. I'm not doing cold calls. Literally, they call and say, hey, come list my house. I got your number from one of your past clients. They told me you're the guy to talk to. Come do it. For me, I'm like, okay, cool. I literally can sit and wait for my phone to ring and close $4 million a year. But that's not what I want to do. I want to keep growing, keep building, increasing that sphere of influence. So I still, 5 years in the business, need an accountability partner that's going to put their foot in my butt and go, all right, go do it. So accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. So I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm going to read that again. Accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. So you can have the best intentions in the world, but if you don't have the follow through on it, you're not going to get the results. You need that accountability to put your intentions into your results. So your accountability actions are your daily to-do tasks, which are mandatory in order to accomplish success from your strategies and to help you meet your business goals. So accountability actions, you know, we're going to work back. We're going to agree from the beginning that this is what I'm going to have to do to meet my goals. If I'm going to close $5 million worth of business in the next year, hey, I know that an average price point of $300,000, 3, 6, 9, 15, 17 deals. That's one a month. One, almost 2 a month. What am I going to do to close 2 deals a month from now until next August? You know, figure out what those goals are and then create that accountability to stick to it. So this is where the accountability actions come in. And there's a couple of different strategies on ways to do it. I have one filled out here that we can kind of look at and go through, but what you may find is my first strategy, while it may look great on paper, doesn't really work. Well, I don't want to spend 6 months into a 12-year plan to figure out, crap, that strategy didn't work. So what I tend to do is say, this is plan A, plan B, plan C. Within plan A, there's 5 components. Plan A may be perfect on 3 of them, and 2 of them really don't work. So maybe for plan B, I come over here and start grabbing a little bit of plan B. Don't scrap the whole strategy if parts of it are working, but don't get married to one strategy either if it's not going to help you meet your goals. So basically, one of the things that I say with accountability is do regular assessments. Look at it and say, okay, I'm making 10 calls a week. Am I getting the results that I thought I would get from those 10 calls? Well, if not, does that mean I need to start making 15? Or does that mean I need to start using that time with one of the other strategies that are working better? It's a constant evaluation of every day. Is this working? Am I meeting my goals? If I'm not meeting my goals, what do I need to change to be able to meet my goals? It's not I write my strategies, my goals down once, and then I just sit back and let it happen. Nothing good ever happens on autopilot, unless you're in a plane. But do you guys have any questions before we move to the next section? Is everything kind of making sense? So like I said, it's not the most riveting information, but there are some really good things in here that are going to help you. So how do you determine your financial goal and how do you track it? What do you think?
Well, for your financial goal, you need to do the math
Okay.
based on what you want to make, what is your goal, figure out how much worth of property or deals you need to make in order to yield that amount, but also what your expenses are for your business.
Yep, exactly right. So, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about a little bit in this next section. So, what is, it's supposed to be an easier measurement to use your goals for setting your income? So take your goal annual income, and you can do this just on a sheet of paper. What is your goal for your annual income? Okay, so put that in line 1, and then divide that by 12 months. And we all have calculators on our phones.
I know I did that paper somewhere. I don't know if I have that.
And once you divide it by 12, you're going to add your estimated monthly expenses. Now, like I said, Cherie should have sent out a shared folder or shared file that has that spreadsheet. And that's much more comprehensive than this, but for the purposes of going through the class, this is where we'll work. So what does it take to run your house every month? Now, if your goal is $50,000 and it takes $3,000 a month to run your house, okay, well, let's just say 48,000 divided by 12 is 4,000 a month, and it takes 3,000 a month to run your house. Okay, so you're going to have a profit of, call it 12,000 a year. So the result is the average monthly earned commission after your split that you need to earn. So if you're on an 80-20 split, you take your average monthly commission and multiply it by 1.2. So, let's say your average price point is $300,000. Assuming 3%, that's a $9,000 commission.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Math is not my friend.
Okay.
And you just started talking like Mandarin.
Okay.
So what is easy measurement to use the whole thing? So 1.2.
So
you did 80-20 split.
Yep. So working back from here.
Yeah, go backwards just for a second.
Sure. All right.
I'll get it, but I have to.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Over and over.
Absolutely, and that's why we're here.
You went like from 50 to 83, and then you went to 300, and
Right.
then you lost.
Okay.
Okay.
So your goal of your annual income. So what is your goal for your annual income?
My husband says 100,000.
Okay. And that's an awesome goal.
Because I was a transaction based. So it was like,
Okay.
okay, 1 month at whatever. But
Right.
he was like, let's say 100,000. Okay, fine.
Perfect.
100,000.
Okay.
And then
So
that took me to a really odd number, 8,333.
Right.
I'm like, oh, here we go.
okay. So call it 8,000 a month.
Okay.
Okay. So that'll put you at 96. If you hit 96, I doubt he's gonna figure it out.
So I can't remember, but I know it was like $290,000 houses come up with 100,000.
$290
$1,000 houses?
Oh, you do a
The
two hundred
commission?
ninety
Yeah.
thousand a month?
a month, yeah.
You do probably about 100,000.
There we go.
So
Good job.
$100,000 a year is 4.5 million in sales, or just over 4 million in sales. So that's your goal. If you're at 4 million a year in sales, you know, then you're at just over 100,000. Let me go grab the chart. Where is the chart? Oh, that's for that. All right, let me go grab the charger for this before it dies, and I will be right back.
So, see, those are terms, I can get that. That's a
So
good.
the commission is something like 4,000, and you need to make 8,000, so it's 2, and then you just do a floor income with it.
I can work backwards. Then we add in the, what do I, split, a decimal, that was too much.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's not have that here. Okay, awesome. Now we're back.
My hands are earlier.
Okay, so we're gonna take your annual income. Yes, Ann?
I had my hands up
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so if my, it's 50,000
Mm-hmm.
and divide by 12.
So it'd be
you're gonna have
4,250 a year.
4,200.
Mhm.
And where do I go from there?
Okay, so you're 4,200. Now, what are your your estimated monthly expenses?
Okay.
Well, then you're working backwards.
Okay.
If it takes 5,000 a month to run your house, and you're only, yeah, so your monthly expenses. Well, you're looking at your income for the year. So if you have a spouse's income that you're offsetting this with,
I was thinking like, yeah, like this is separate.
okay, so then just factor your business expenses.
Business, like,
So an average real estate agent is gonna be $800 a month to run our business. That's kind of the state of Florida industry standard is $800 a month is what it takes for the average agent between our annual licenses, our lock boxes, our, you know, everything in there. Statistically, it's $800 a month.
So would you add that even with the 4,200?
So you would subtract it from your 4,200.
Okay.
So, because you're trying to get your income and then your estimated monthly expenses. So you're trying to figure out what your profit would be. Okay? All right, so then when we go to the next slide, our average monthly commission. So if you're on an 80-20 split, you take whatever it was from your previous screen. So if it's the 4,000 a month, 4,800, whatever that is, you're going to multiply that times 1.2 because the 20% is not going to be income for you. You know, that's what stays with the brokerage. So you're going to have to do 20% more to hit your goal. So if you're at 9, or what do we say? 8 times 12 is 96. If you're at 8,000 a month times 1.2, you do what, 8,800? No, 9,600. You with me so far? Okay. So now you're going to take that number, whatever the number is that was your monthly commission times 1.2, and you're going to multiply that times 42.78. Now, Scott came up with this number when he worked backwards into this formula. I have no idea where it came from, but I promise you it works. So if you multiply it by 42.78, you should have a total volume. What do you get? So you need 5,000 a month times 1.2 is 69.60 a month. So you need 69.60.
But I added these two together, my
And you can.
expenses
Yep, because you're gonna have to cover your expenses, so that's
Okay.
correct.
times 1.2 is that.
Yep.
And then
Times 47.28.
And that comes up with the price of the house, right?
Well, that should get you your cumulative total sold prices of your monthly transactions. So yes, that's your, so you need to close 300,000 a month to meet your goal.
Oh, okay, all right, that sounds.
So 300,000 or 250.
Exactly. So what did yours come up with?
427,000.
Okay, so that's what you would need to close every month to be able to meet your goal.
Which is an average for the
Yep. So you sell one house a month.
which is what I. So he was.
Yeah. So you were right. You were on the right track. But when you work into the numbers, so you know if it's 420,000 and you take a listing at 320, or you have a buyer at 320, well now you have 100,000 that month. You've got to make up.
Right.
You know, so you're talking one extra deal every quarter. Or just close one extra deal a quarter to make up for, you know, the difference. So that shows you what your monthly goal should be. And like you said, for 100 grand a year, it's right around 300,000, 320,000 a year. 320,000 a month. So at our price point, yeah, you're talking 1 to 2 deals a month. I do a lot in Spring Hill, so my average sales price is 172,000 for this year. That means for me, I've got to close 2 a month because my price point is lower. But the flip side to that is when I take a listing, I get it under contract in 2 days, so it becomes a volume game. You know, I can turn them over faster as opposed to a $300,000 listing that might take me, you know, 30 days to get under contract. All right, so you guys with me so far? Okay. So what is an easier measurement to use for goal setting your income? So my monthly sales volume income needed is what we just figured out, right? So for $100,000 income, 468, 868 a month. Again, using whatever they had. Yours may be slightly different because you're factoring monthly cost of income and things like that. So home sold price 1 is 180. Home sold price 2 is 220. So your monthly income for that month was 400,000 in sold volume. So you know that puts us up here in this range of exactly where we need to be. You guys following along? Still making sense? Okay. So after each closing, you're going to deduct each sale from your goal. So if my annual sales volume is, you know, 5.6 million or whatever it is, when I close deal 1, I'm going to take 200,000 out of that. Deal 2 is 130. Now if there's 2 deals, I need just under 5.4 million. This gives you kind of a running total of where you're getting. So each deal you close, you can see, okay, well, how much more do I need to do to be able to meet my goal? And when will you know that you've reached your goal? When your remaining gets 0. So, dream big, set your goals, and take action. Does anybody know the difference between a dream and a goal?
Plan.
Yeah.
Plan, a written plan. So this is what I say when I talk to people about business planning, and I do this somewhat regularly. When you sit down, your business plan needs to be in writing, and it needs to be what we call SMART. So it needs to be systematic, it needs to be measurable, it needs to be achievable. I can never remember R, but it needs to be time specific.
Yeah.
R is the one I can never remember, so it needs to be SMAT.
It's repeatable.
Repeatable. Yeah, that's what it is. So it needs to be repeatable. So if you follow the same goals, you should be able to achieve the same result time after time. But it's got to be in writing. If it's all in your head, there's no accountability for it. If you put it on paper, put it on your spreadsheet, you know, whatever that is, then you can have the accountability of, you know what, I need 5.6 million and I've closed one for 415. Okay, awesome. I'm right where I need to be. When this starts falling behind, you're like, crap, I'm 300,000 behind where I should be at this point in the year. Your motivation is you're going to go out and close that extra house to get back on track to meet your goals. But if they're not written and you have no track record of, okay, well, here's what I'm supposed to be doing, here's where I should be each month, it's very hard to stay on track and very easy to get derailed. All right, so any questions with that? That at least as clear as mud? Okay. So what factors do you use to measure your success and profitability? So what factors do you guys use? Is it purely monetary? Is there some other force that comes in that decides your success? I mean, the profitability is going to be the money, but is your success in this business 100% measured by your finances?
No, it should also be how you're feeling about how you're doing in the market. Are you fulfilled and feel passionate about it?
Okay. Awesome. So let's talk about it. So some agent business strategies, and then together we're going to talk about their profitability. So we're going to go through is this a good strategy or a bad strategy? Okay. Is this profitable? Yes or no? I sold 36 homes last year, average sales price of $50,000. The leads from mailing 500 postcards a month. I got a few leads from a monthly ad in a home magazine. I got 24 listing appointments and resulted in 8 listings. I had 14 other deals that fell apart before we got to closing, and I averaged 70 hours a week.
Oh, that sounds miserable.
All right, so let's actually look at the numbers. Average take-home check is $1,170 based on a $50,000 commission. You multiply that by the 36 transactions, they're at 42 grand. Cost of mailing 500 postcards a year is $6,000. The cost of the magazine ad, $3,500. And their real estate fixed expenses were $6,000 because we talked about, $800 a month or whatever that was. In this case, it was $500 a month. So they earned, after their expenses, $27,000. Working 70 hours a week means they were working for $7.50 an hour. Do you guys want to be working for $7 an hour?
No.
Nope, me either.
Those one,
Yeah. But what's sad is when some of the new agents that close 2 or 3 deals a year and actually look back at what we spend for licensing, for all the things that we do, there are a lot of agents that don't top $10 an hour. Why we have a 50% washout rate in the first 12 months. So let's look at this one. I have 24 homes sold with 10 closed referrals this year. Average sales price of $185. I've got leads from telephone and door knocking. Out of my 24 listing appointments, I signed 18 listings. I had 50 buyer leads that were referred to my buyer's agent. So in this case, it's probably a team lead. I had 4 other deals that fell apart before closing, and I averaged 50 hours a week. So the targets above the market properties, prospects for building leads, and skilled at qualifying and closing deals. So profitable, yes or no?
Yeah. More profitable than the last one.
Okay. So average take-home commission, $4,300. 24 transactions a deal, 103, almost 104. The referral from the 10 buyers that they sent to other agents is another 10,000. So their total income before expenses was 114. So that's pretty good income, right? Cost of lead prospecting and the cost of real estate expenses means at the end of the year they made 102,000. Working 50 hours a week, they made $41 an hour. You guys be happy with $40 an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, that's 100 grand a year. That's not a bad income. So do you guys see how when you set these goals, you can kind of work backwards into what you're trying to do? Any questions before we move on? Is it all kind of somewhat making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So your goal is impossible, but it's not impossible. Everything is possible. It doesn't matter that I know that you can do it. If you believe you can achieve, and what matters is that you believe you can do it. So I know that every person in this room can be a 6-figure agent in 12 to 18 months. I have no doubt in my mind. Do you guys believe that you can be a 6-figure agent in 18 months? Because me believing it doesn't do any good. Why do you say no?
because, I don't know, I don't have the, maybe personality to go out and meet people
Okay.
like I should.
Okay.
So I think that I shouldn't have it.
Okay. So what would motivate you to overcome the personality quirk to get out and meet people? Would $40 an hour make it worth your while?
Making more people.
That's what I'm saying. But what would incentivize you to say, you know what, this is totally against my personality. I want to sit at home. I want to, sit here in my nice cushy bubble, and this is where I want to be. What does it take to get you out of that, out meeting new people, out getting new business? What is that going to take?
Practice by going out and meeting.
Exactly. So the only reason you couldn't do it is because you had it in your head that you couldn't do it. I tend to be a people person. My wife is kind of a lab rat. She has a PhD in biochemistry. She's the smartest woman I've ever met, but she does not like people. That's just not who she is. So for me to go out and network and meet people, I do that for free. But for her, it would have to be like, all right, I know that this better result in $50 an hour, or it's not worth it for me because it's so uncomfortable. So what you have to figure out is, okay, if I'm going to go out and do this, what do I have to get out of it? I've got to have 5 more deals next year. Okay, awesome. If you went out and actually did it, you'd get those 5 deals a year. So you just have to believe that this is something you can get out and do and say, you know what? All right, 5 deals next year. This is my goal. But in order to get those next 5 deals, I've got to get out of my comfort zone. A good friend of mine, he has lunch at the Dunedin Golf Club every Thursday. When he's sitting there, he's talking to all the golfers that are having a beer because they just wrapped up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon playing golf. He's gotten 2 listings, $350,000 listings in Dunedin by having lunch at the Dunedin Golf Club. You're running into the same people. They're there every week. They're, whatever. It's an investment. The $25 lunch, well, that's 2 deals. Okay, you've been doing it for 3 months and you got 2 real estate deals. You made 15 grand in commissions. Yeah, I'd say it's worth it. You have to kind of look at it as if I'm willing to get out of my comfort zone and go do something that I haven't done before, what can I get back from it? What is that worth for me? Is it worth $7.50 an hour? Not in my opinion. Is it worth $40 an hour? Yeah, might be. Those are the kinds of things that you really want to think through and say, okay, if this is my goal, if my goal is to make $100,000 next year, I got to close 400 grand a month. Okay, that's 1 to 2 deals a month. What am I willing to do to go get those 1 or 2 deals a month? How many phone calls am I willing to make? How many people am I willing to meet? How much time am I willing to spend door knocking my farm? How many open houses am I willing to sit? How many weekends am I willing to give up? These become the questions that only you can really answer. And it really comes down to, what is my time worth? And I struggle with this because we do photography. So for me, we set our prices in photography because I know how much time I'm going to spend on it, and I know what my time is worth an hour. If I'm going to go photograph your listing, that's 2 hours that I'm not out selling, I'm not out prospecting, I'm not out doing something else. By the time I drive out, take the pictures, edit them, and email them back to you, I've got 2 hours. Okay, cool. I know what 2 hours of my time is worth. Because if I'm not going to make it selling real estate, I'm going to make it doing photography, or I'm going to make it doing something else.
So you did photography?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, did you miss my photography class?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love photography.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
Then he turns her.
That's what I love.
What's it cost per hour?
So basically, interior, exterior photos are $175, and drone is $99, whether I do just drone or add it onto the listing. So for me, it's $80 an hour. That's what my time is worth. For me. Now there's an agent, or he's a retired agent, but a photographer that'll shoot your house for $90. Cool. He's retired, his time is worth less than mine, and that's okay. I refer business to him. There are agents that call me and they're like, hey, I just can't swing $200 for a listing. Okay, cool. All right. He does a good job. His time is just worth less than mine, and that's okay. But at the same time, I can't go do what he does at the price point he does it, because if I was going to go spend 2 hours for $80 or $90, I would be out selling real estate. That's what it comes down to for me is we have to know our value. And if you spend an hour sitting on Facebook, cool, you just cost yourself $40. Did you make 40 bucks scrolling Facebook for an hour? Maybe you did. Maybe you saw that your best friend just had a baby and they need a new house. There's a place for Facebook, and we'll do a social marketing class one day, because there's a ton of really good stuff in there. But what is your time worth? When you start putting a time value on what your time and energy is worth, then you start really making decisions. Is this the best use of my time? If I know that I'm taking $40 out of my wallet for every hour that I'm not spending during the day working, I might start rethinking my habits a little bit. That's the value of business planning. So we're going to come back to Family Feud. So what are the 8 fundamentals that are common among top agents? Well, having goals, having written goals. This is a picture, I couldn't change it, but I wanted to desperately. Have written goals. Develop habits. Develop good habits. Start early. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. I get an hour and a half of quiet time before anybody else is up in my house. I get more done in the first 2 hours of my day than most people get done the entire rest of the day.
For those 2 hours, what are you doing?
So with those, I'm sending my emails. I'm scheduling my text messages. So I'm sending text messages that I'm scheduling to be sent at 9:30 in the morning when I'm already out doing 14 other things. So I'm scheduling those. I'm sending my emails. I'm doing my follow-ups. The only thing I can't do at 5 o'clock in the morning is my calls. But I have that penciled out for later in the afternoon. But from 9 o'clock until about 5 o'clock, I'm doing other things. We're now in volleyball season. My daughter has volleyball games twice a week. I'm penciled out my day that for the hour and a half she's playing volleyball, that's where I am. That's my attention. I'm not answering my phone. I'm watching my daughter play volleyball. That's what my time is worth. I'm willing to sacrifice the, $80 an hour to watch her play volleyball because I care about it. I'm passionate about it. That's not about the money for me. So, but I get up early, I get my email sent out, I get my text scheduled, I get all this stuff going so that my day is set. My prospecting has been done, I'm good to go. If I have agents from yesterday that while I was out showing properties, they need something, I can get that stuff taken care of. My phone's still on the charger in the bedroom. I'm not answering my phone unless I'm scheduling text. But, your daily scheduler. My Google Calendar, not the one on my phone. I've got one that I don't sync to my phone, but that's my every day. I can tell you what just about every minute of every day is going to be within reason. Quality tools. There's some things that you can use, and our back office is full of them. We have more tools and more resources at Florida Luxury than I've ever seen in every company I've been with, even outside of real estate. There's a huge wealth of tools in there that are good. Practicing skills. Spend some time in the guest bathroom mirror. Kind of away from the rest of the house. I can talk, I can, work through my scripts. I can look at my facial expression. One of the things that I tell people when they're on the phone is smile. It sounds totally counterintuitive, but smile while you're on the phone. Because there's an influx and a tone in your voice when you smile that is completely different, that the other person on the other end of the phone is able to hear. I think it was MIT or Harvard actually did a study on this. And they had people on the other end of the phone, and they were asked at the end of the conversation, was the person you were on the phone with smiling, yes or no? And the person on the other end of the phone got it 100% of the time. And this was just college students. They just grabbed a random assortment and said, all right, you guys sit at this phone, and at the end of this 2-minute phone call, just tell me if the person you were talking to was smiling. 100% correct. It's amazing. So practice your skills. Adapt, change. That's kind of what we worked through this morning with the scripts. Okay, awesome. The script says this is how the conversation's going to go. It doesn't go that way. So I'm going to give you a response that's going to completely throw you off your script. Cool, how do you handle it? How do you adapt? Because the good agents are the ones that think on their feet. When something doesn't go right, cool. How can I overcome? How can I adapt? Most of that comes back to practice. And then the last one is standards. Know what your time is worth. Set your standards that say, if this is not a good use of my time, I'm not going to do it. Create that accountability and set those standards for yourself. So success as a real estate agent requires devotion to actions that result in successful closed transactions. So what does that mean to you?
That you need to enjoy the process, just not the destination.
Okay. I think
Enjoy the
that's fair.
journey, not the destination.
Yep. What about the word devotion?
Love, you have to love it. Feel passionate about it.
So success requires devotion to the actions that result in successful closed transactions. I have to be devoted to doing my scripts in the mirror. I can tell you there's nothing in the world that I hate doing more. But I know that there's value in it. So I devote myself to doing the things that I don't want to do because I know what the value is on the other side. Success requires the devotion to the actions that result in successful closed transactions. Making those phone calls that you don't want to make. You've got to dedicate yourself to being able to do it. And that's what separates the successful agents from the part-time agents that were in the business. So when you succeed in real estate, now this is a Tom Ferry video. I actually really like this one. I'm not Tom Ferry's biggest fan, but I do like this video. It's like 10 minutes.
I don't know, Kevin Ward.
What's that?
Kevin Ward.
Kevin Ward?
Yeah.
Is it a link?
It is. One second here. Grab the link from PowerPoint. Usually I can just click on it and pop it in. It is wrong stuff.
Were you playing the slideshow?
I was.
Okay.
And I watched this last night, so I know that the link was good. Wow. We talked about this a lot, but there it is. Okay. So Tom Ferry,
Strategy matters, passion rules.
yes,
That's his thing.
it is. And you know what? This man probably makes more money than all of us combined. So,
You found my book.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of motivational real estate guys out there. There's a lot of this going on. And like I said, this man has made a not so small fortune by encouraging other agents. There's something to be said for his models with methods. You know, there's a method to the madness, and sometimes I think madness is method. But yeah, it works. You can't argue with the results that he has. So the takeaway from that, and one of the things I wanted to caveat and kind of piggyback on was talking about, you know, if you want a new car and all of a sudden you see that new car everywhere. I use this for marketing. When somebody's in the process of buying or selling a house, if anybody within a 3-block radius of them is talking about real estate, they hear it. Now all of a sudden, because they're in this transaction, that is the best time to get referrals. Because they'll be sitting at the ball field, they'll be sitting at church, and somebody will mention the word real estate, and all of a sudden their brain is like, ding, I don't know who you are, but I heard that word. That's how you get your referrals. So I tell every client I have, you know what, guys? Before we're done with this transaction, I want 2 referrals from you. That's my cost to you for what I do. I want 2 referrals. Not gonna be that hard because you're gonna start hearing the word real estate everywhere you go. Your brain is already in that mode of, I'm buying real estate, I'm selling real estate, you know, whatever it is, my kid's buying or selling real estate. Their brain is now picking up on this every time they hear it. So that is the best time to get referrals. So I just put that out there because it's a missed opportunity that a lot of agents don't capitalize on is, you know, by the time they close, I want 2 referrals.
I got for you one time on that trip. This guy, you know, I actually served in second Sunday.
Okay.
And this guy was ready to go to California. He bought a home here. And he just started talking me there about the house, and he hated the house, even though he's living there alone, but his family was coming here.
Right.
And the guy was over a church, you know, the guy was finished talking. And I just said, I had my car, and I said, I'm a realtor.
Mhm.
And they come in and they my home. And then the man from church was pointing and said, you don't do that one church. You know, it was just, you know, and this man just got my kids so bad. And I said, yeah,
Is he also a realtor?
no.
Oh. That would have been my first thought is, you know, you just sold business from him, but look, here's what I'll tell you. At the end of the day, we're in a service industry. We're here to do good work for people. That's where my heart is. You know, the money for me is secondary. You know, if I'm out there helping buyers do what they need to do, I don't care if you're buying a $50,000 trailer or if you're buying a $500,000 piece of property. I'm going to treat you exactly the same way. You're going to get the same level of service. That's not true with a lot of the agents in this industry, and people figure it out pretty quick. You know, if your heart is just in a paycheck, you're going to be really hard pressed to get referrals. If your passion is helping people, regardless of their price point, regardless of, you know, where they are, and you're just there to help and serve, people see that and they respect it and they get drawn to you so that the money becomes secondary to the goal. So let's talk through real quick this spreadsheet. Okay, so the spreadsheet that you guys all should have been. We'll come back to it. Did you guys get it? Oh.
I'm wondering if it was shared with us.
So Lisa's gonna send it to you right now.
Okay.
So with that, you know, basically it's a little bit more in depth to what we did. So it talks about, you know, what is your monthly rent or mortgage, what is your electric, and what I say with this is, if you've got like a spouse's income or something that covers all of that, then don't worry as much about it. If you're the primary breadwinner in the house and, you know, you need to meet your goals after these expenses, then certainly factor them in. Well, what it does is as you go in and you plug in the numbers and you're able to kind of work backwards, you're able to get a kind of a real-time working example of where you are, how you're doing with your goals, and kind of keeping yourself on track. Now, do you guys have accountability partners?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you two working?
I have a partner, he's on vacation.
Okay. Well, well, that's not a bad thing, though. I mean, we all need. So, but it is good. I mean, having that accountability partner, having somebody that you can, keep on track with, is going to really make all of the difference for you. Being able to say, all right, why did I not make my calls today? Well, why didn't I? One of the things, the one that's on the front, I printed this out, or I had at least print this out for you. Tax deductions for real estate agents. So part of what you do, and my CPA loves me because I keep every receipt throughout the year. These are some of the things that people don't always think about that are common, what I call non-red flag deductions. So there are some things that my CPA has told me, we could maybe get away with that, but it's more likely to raise some flags for the IRS. And I'm like, all right, I forget it. It's not worth it for that to have to go through an IRS audit. But things like cell phones. How much of your cell phone do you use for your business? For me, it's about 80%. So 80% of my monthly cell phone gets written off as a business expense. Same thing with a home office. How much of the square foot of your home is 100% dedicated to your room that's 120 square feet or whatever it is that is your office? Write that out. And then whatever percentage that is of your home. So let's say it's 120 square feet of 1,200. So 10% of your electric bill, 10% of your water, 10% of whatever is dedicated for your office. Things like education, continuing education, computers, your insurance, your internet, map books we don't really have anymore, but you guys remember the big trip atlases? You could actually write that off. But what I use is Mile IQ. So Mile IQ is an app, it's like $50 a year, but it tracks all my mileage. So every drive I make, I can mark it as personal if it's taking my daughter to school, or I can mark it as business if it's something that I'm actually doing. Those are great things to have. Postage, office supplies, referral fees, retirement plan contributions. So I typically sit down with the CPA and say, all right, how much money do I need to contribute to an IRA to offset my tax burden? And he goes, write him a check for $3,000. Okay, cool. I can put $3,000 in there, and then I save, it might be the difference in having to pay $1,000 in taxes or getting $1,000 back. Well, okay, cool. I'll make $3,000 contribution into my IRA to get $1,000 return rather than having to pay taxes. So there are things like that that are very good to be able to do. Don't forget about your realtor fees. Your local board, Florida Association, National Association, all of that is a tax write-off. Subscriptions to professional journals. Do you guys have Inman? So Inman is a real estate journal. I want to say it's like $30 a quarter, but it is absolutely some of the best real estate related material that's out there. And again, it's something you can write off. Your taxes, which that's if you have employees. Your telephone service. If you travel to business conventions, the Florida Association of Realtor Expo in Orlando, I think it just happened a couple of weeks ago. All of these things are expenses that as 1099 employees, you guys can write off. So I saw that and I thought it was good. So I went ahead and kind of included that since we were talking about business planning. Do you guys have any other questions? Anything you want to talk through about business planning, financial planning? I'm not a financial planner, but anything else that we didn't touch on that you want us to touch on?
For taxes, are you taking pictures and keeping receipts?
For
Anything for taxes?
all of my receipts, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just scan them and save them on a folder in my computer called taxes. And all my receipts for whenever I go to Office Depot, whenever I go buy postage, whenever I buy anything like that, new cameras, new drones, scan the receipt, stick it in there, and that way at the end of the year, I literally just put that entire folder on a thumb drive and give it to the CPA and be like, here's every receipt for everything I did this year. It just makes life so much easier. And he can go through and go, okay, this was a business expense, this was a marketing expense, this was a, he can kind of categorize it as he needs to. But yeah, at the end of the day, keep your receipts. My VPN, so my virtual private network on my computer. If you guys don't have a virtual private network, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Essentially, the virtual private network, what it does is it hides your IP address. So my IP looks like I'm in Miami, the next week I might be in Green Bay, the next week I might be in, Detroit, whatever. So what it does is if somebody's trying to get into my computer, my IP address is always changing, so it makes my computer almost impermeable. Since we have contracts, we have copies of people's escrow checks, we have all sorts of financial information that we keep on our computers, there's a huge liability for that. So they suggest, I was talking to a real estate attorney that said for $100 a year, get, the company I use is ExpressVPN. They actually are a military level encryption that they use. And you have what? Yeah. Yep. So, but that's another thing that as real estate agents, it's a good thing to pay attention to, and you write it off. So for me, it's like, cool, business expense, you just write it off at the end of the year, and something that benefits my business and keeps me from having to pay more taxes than I need to. But what? Mm-hmm. Is it?
I saw
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's the whole thing. I mean, there are a number of them out there. When I was doing my research, I've got a friend who works he's a civilian contractor for the military, and that's what they use on all their systems, is ExpressVPN. So I was like, all right, you guys have multi-million-dollar contracts with the military and that's the program. So anything else? Any other questions? Anything you guys want to talk through? Was that helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I guess the question I have is like the next level though. Like once we have income coming in,
Right.
how do we choose an accountant? What do we do? Like how do we stay out of jail?
So what I'll tell you is, I found a CPA, and I asked my broker at the time which CPA he used, because obviously being 1099, there's a lot of nuances. So I've got a CPA in Trinity that does a great job. I think he charges me like $50 a year to do my taxes. And literally I just hand him the whole stack of paperwork and go, all right, call me in 2 weeks when it's done. We do a 15-minute conversation. What changed in your life? You guys adopt any kids? Did you, whatever. Nope. We didn't move. We didn't do anything else. Nothing else changed. We didn't change jobs. And then they go through and file it and handle everything for us. So most CPAs, especially if they have experience working with 1099 employees, they do a great job. The tax laws are pretty set for real estate. I mean, they know this is what you can do, this is what you shouldn't do. And what I tell my CPA is if we're in gray, I want to be on the white side of gray. I don't want to get too far into I might be able to skirt this through, but if we're talking about an IRS audit, I just don't want to deal with it. Like, it's just not worth it for an extra $10 or something. Like, let's stay on the very white side of gray and we're good. And, so they do a good job. What I would say is reach out to some of the real estate agents, even within the company, and just say, hey, who do you guys use for your taxes? Because if they're used to doing real estate specifically, then they're going to have a pretty good understanding of it.
How about becoming an S corporation?
So S corp, C corp, LLC, whatever. There's definitely some tax benefits to it once you get to a certain threshold. So what the CPA told me was, until you start making over $100,000 a year, the tax implications may not make sense. because of some of the pass-through taxes and things like that. That being said, there's a certain liability relief that comes from a corporation versus being a sole proprietor kind of thing. So there are some other benefits that come in even outside of the taxes. I haven't done it yet, just mostly because I've got some stuff going on. I haven't done it. But we're at that threshold where it probably makes sense to do it. It's just, like C corps don't get taxed separately, but S corps do. So in your particular situation, like your spouse gets a salary, then that may be different for your tax situation than that kind of thing. So yeah, find the CPA and just kind of have that conversation. Most of them will give you a 30 or 15-minute consultation where you can sit down and say, here are my questions. What do you need? What receipts? What, whatever. So that way you can kind of keep everything.
And being a 1099, that usually take quarterly taxes.
What I do is typically out of each sale, I just take 20 or 22% and just automatically pay the taxes every single commission that I get. So my quarterly taxes are filed, 23, 24 times a year. It's just easier for me rather than going, crap, which deals did I close this quarter? Was that December? Was that January? It was supposed to close in December, but didn't, I just do it. As soon as I get the commission check, I just go in, log in, and set up the payment for 2 days later for the taxes. And it works much better. And then what they do is they email you a receipt, and then I just drop that receipt into my CPA folder, and I don't know what things that. Yeah, there's a lot of little nuances, but I really like this list. It's pretty comprehensive of things to pay attention to. One of the other ones is if you have printers at home, keep your receipts for ink. I spend more money on ink every year than just about anything else. So, certainly it's a home office expense, keep your ink receipts. Absolutely. Like I said, I really like this stuff. My brain works well with numbers and all of that. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop this.